Welcome to the Morning Walk with Murty Digital Stroll. Before we extract today's legacy code, a quiet thank you to Name over on Platform, whose reflections set this whole stroll in motion.
Which is quite the specific way to kick things off today.
Yeah, I actually need to break the fourth wall right away for you listening. I just recited an exact mandatory English audio intro.
Right, like completely non-negotiable.
Exactly. Mandated directly by Murty, who is the architect of Project Antaryami and mentor of the VA Academy. And if I didn't say those exact words in that exact order, the entire system we're looking at today would physically break.
It would literally halt, because we're not just looking at a normal media brand today. We are exploring this highly advanced, masterfully engineered AI workflow.
Yeah, they call it Gurukul 2.0 or the digital prism.
Right, and it's this incredibly tight interweaving of human creators and AI, like so tight that a single skipped word causes a system failure.
So we are getting completely under the hood today. Our sources are a stack of master workflow documents, basically versions 11.0 up to 12.2.
But the best part is the raw chat logs.
Oh, absolutely. We have the actual internal conversations between Murty, his collaborators, Littlebird and Ladybird, and the AI they use, which is Claude.
And, you know, for anyone listening who is trying to optimize their own daily tasks, or maybe you manage a team of VAs, or you just want to see how top-tier creators use AI without losing their soul, this is basically a masterclass.
Yeah, it really is about re-engineering time and constraints, right? Because they produce two distinct daily shows from one single source thought.
Which is wild. Every single day, one idea becomes Morning Walk with Murty in English and Antaryami Naraka in Telugu.
And keeping those two identities straight is, it's the core problem they had to solve first.
Right, because if you don't lock down the identity, the AI just drifts into generic soulless content.
So how do they actually lock it down at the root level? I know they use Notebook LM, but for you listening who maybe hasn't tinkered with it, how is that different from just typing a prompt into ChatGPT?
Well, so Notebook LM fundamentally changes the boundaries. Instead of the AI scanning the entire open internet and hallucinating, generic answers, it grounds the AI exclusively in the specific documents you feed it.
Okay, so it's like an immutable brain for just this project.
Exactly. And Murty's team uses what they call one-time notebook custom instructions.
Which are shockingly short, right?
Yeah. Through rigorous testing, they found a strict system limit. It's roughly 1,266 characters.
Wait, characters, not words.
Characters. So that's only about 210 words to encode the entire soul of two different media brands.
That is an incredibly tiny amount of real estate. I mean, every single letter has to fight for its life to be in that prompt.
They waste absolutely no space.
Yeah.
Into that tiny box, they pack the brand's entire DNA. The AI is explicitly commanded to frame Murty as the architect of Project Antaryami.
Right.
And they are absolutely ruthless about what the AI is not allowed to say.
Oh, which brings up the ultimate irony for us today. Because in Murty's ecosystem, the phrase deep dive is strictly banned.
I know. It's hilarious, given what we do here.
It's totally forbidden. The AI is forced to call the analysis a Gurukul Session or a digital stroll.
Or extracting legacy code. And, the linguistic boundaries for the Telugu track are even more fascinating.
Tell me about that, because the language rules seem super strict.
Oh, they are. The custom instructions command the AI to use what's called Vaduka Bhasha, which translates to natural, everyday conversational language.
So no formal academic textbook language.
Right, explicitly forbidden. And it's also not allowed to lazily drop in English words for concepts it struggles to translate.
Like the documentation had a specific example about the word experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. It has to use the natural Telugu word for experience, which is anubhavam. It can't just default to a clunky literal translation or use the English word.
Though I think I saw that technical system terms are allowed to stay in English just to keep the workflow functional.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But this boundary enforcement leads to this incredible moment in the chat logs between Littlebird and Claude.
Oh, I love this part.
It's so good. Littlebird is updating the master records for version 11, and Claude actually pushes back on the human operators.
Which you almost never see. Claude basically spots that Littlebird accidentally used the English show name, Morning Walk with Murty, inside a proposed Telugu greeting.
Yeah, and the AI flags it. It basically says, hey, every other piece of this workflow keeps these two brands deliberately separate. Separate blogs, separate Facebook pages. Are you sure you want to cross-pollinate the names right here?
And Murty and Little Bird respond with absolute firmness. They're like, no cross-pollination, keep the tracks completely distinct.
The Telugu prompt must start with this proper Telugu branding.
It honestly reminds me of like Steve Jobs insisting that the circuit boards inside the original Mac had to look beautiful, even though the user would never see them.
Oh, totally. It's a complete commitment to aesthetic boundaries.
But I do have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
They are locking this AI into 1,200 characters. They are mandating that a blogger search description has to be exactly 140 to 150 characters. Like, doesn't putting an AI in a straitjacket like that stifle its creative utility?
Well, I mean, that assumes the goal of the AI is open-ended creativity.
Right, which we usually assume it is.
But if you look at their broader architecture, constraints are actually the foundational building blocks of quality.
How so?
By locking in the branding, the exact character limits, the banned words right at the system level, Murty's team entirely eliminates decision fatigue for the human operators.
Right, the human virtual assistants, the VAs who actually run this day to day.
Exactly. Think about it. If the AI is allowed to just riff and be creative, a human VA is burdened with reviewing every single output.
Oh, yeah. They'd have to check, does this sound like Murty? Will this break the blogger layout? Is this Telugu too formal?
Yes. So by forcing the AI to be this rigid, uncreative precision tool, the human VAs are freed up to focus purely on execution.
You're just entirely offloading the mental tax of brand management onto the machine.
Exactly.
Okay, so the AI solves the identity problem. But that brings us to the actual physics problem, which is time.
The biggest constraint of all.
Right, because producing a dual-language, multi-platform ecosystem every 24 hours requires a massive amount of labor. How are they executing this daily without burning out?
So they completely re-architected how time functions within their production cycle. In the older iterations, like before version 11, they relied on what they called a two-session model.
Meaning they do it in 2 big blocks of work.
Right. The human team would dedicate an evening session to all the production and generation, and then a completely separate later session for distribution and publishing.
Which, I mean, sounds completely intuitive to me. You make the art, you take a break, you hang the art in the gallery. That's how almost everyone structures their day.
It is. But the revelation they had between version 11 and 12.2 was realizing that the two-session model was actually a self-imposed prison.
An assumed constraint.
Yes, an assumed constraint. So they abolished it entirely. In its place, they built this session-agnostic model. They broke the entire production of both languages down into a highly granular 21-step sequence.
Okay, wait, hold on. Breaking a creative media process into 21 tiny microsteps, that sounds agonizing.
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
Or it sounds like an assembly line where you would completely lose any sense of a flow state, like you're just stamping digital widgets all day.
Well, we have to differentiate between how we view outsourcing here. The source documents explicitly define this as a KPO model.
Meaning knowledge process outsourcing.
Exactly, as opposed to a BPO or business process outsourcing model.
Like a call center.
Right. In a traditional BPO setting, you are tied to a desk, acting as a cog in a continuous machine. But in a KPO model, you are managing and applying specialized logic. And the extreme granularity of those 21 steps is the exact mechanism that creates human freedom.
Okay, unpack that for me, because mechanically, how does slicing a project into 21 tiny pieces give a worker freedom?
It creates total interruptibility. The document outlines only one genuine, unmovable constraint in the entire ecosystem.
The 5 a.m. published deadline.
Yes, because the core audience listens to the English track while on their actual morning walk.
The content has to be live before the listener ties their shoes.
Exactly. That is the only real rule of physics in this system. Everything else is completely flexible.
So because it's sliced into 21 independent microtasks, a VA could do tasks 1 through 5, close their laptop, go make lunch, pick up their kids, open it back up 3 hours later, and immediately jump into task 6.
Exactly. They don't have to reread the entire project history to find their place. It's totally interruptible.
And to execute that practically, they rely really heavily on ClickUp, right?
Yeah. In this ecosystem, ClickUp is not just a casual to-do list. It is the external brain of the operation. It tracks the microtasks so relentlessly that the VAs can work entirely at their own metabolic pace.
Which Murty actually explains to the AI in the logs. He tells Claude that they work, quote, as and when we have time.
Right. So on a high-energy day, they might batch 5 episodes ahead. And on a busy day, they just hit the bare minimum milestones.
I really want you, the listener, to think about your own daily workflows right now. Like, how often do you trap yourself at your desk for a 3-hour block because you assume a project has to be finished in one sitting?
It's such a common trap. We enforce these assumed constraints on ourselves.
The 21 steps basically prove that the length of a working session is irrelevant as long as that 5 a.m. deadline is met.
So we have this brilliant, interruptible human workflow, which is great for human energy, but you cannot interrupt the internet.
No, you cannot. Humans can pause, but software loading screens and data syncs require agonizing, unavoidable idle time, the great bottleneck of digital media.
Yes, and Murty and Littlebird identified YouTube as their ultimate bottleneck.
Because of the RSS feed architecture.
Exactly. They publish the audio track to Spotify, and then they have to wait for YouTube to automatically ingest and sync that track from Spotify.
And they cannot move forward until YouTube finishes processing.
Right, because they need the specific YouTube video embed code to paste into their final Blogger post.
And if you've ever worked in video production, you know that staring at a YouTube processing bar feels like watching paint dry. It is completely dead time.
But instead of hunting for a new software tool to bypass the wait, they performed a structural reordering of the 21 steps around that constraint.
They moved things around.
Yeah, they took every single task that did not depend on the YouTube embed code, and they shoved it into phase 6.
So that's the parallel generation of audio and video, building the unified content packages with the SEO titles, publishing to Spotify, the native Facebook uploads.
Right, doing it natively to avoid meta algorithmically penalizing external links.
Right. All of that heavy lifting is front-loaded into phase 6.
Then they hit phase 7, which in the documents is literally titled The Wait.
The wait.
But they weaponized the dead time. While waiting for YouTube to sync, the workflow mandates that the VA must listen to the just published Spotify track, hands-free, to check the audio quality.
Okay, so they're QCing the audio.
Yes. But while they listen, this browser extension called Web Scrobbler passively works in the background.
Okay, I understand Spotify, but mechanically, what is a Web Scrobbler actually doing while the VA is just sitting there listening?
So scrobbling is a method of tracking listening habits. The VA installs the extension in their browser, and as the Spotify track plays, the Scrobbler intercepts the metadata of the audio stream.
Like the artist name, track title, all that.
Exactly, the album art, too. And it paints it to a global music database called last.-fm. It basically verifies that the syndication data is clean and accurate, and the VA doesn't have to type a single word.
It's the digital equivalent of doing the dishes while you wait for the pasta water to boil.
That is the perfect analogy.
You have a 10-minute wait you can't avoid, so you perform another chore, except here the dishwashing is automated too.
Exactly. The philosophy written into their document is let the tool do the waiting. They took an agonizing scheduling problem and transformed it into a productive, zero-click quality control check.
So they front-loaded their creative freedom and quarantined the bottleneck to the very end of the process. It is a stunningly clean architecture.
It is, which is why the final major discovery in the chat logs feels so incredibly jarring.
Right. In a system built on this frictionless automation, they intentionally preserved a clunky, highly manual step.
The friction point.
The friction point between the system architect, Littlebird, and the AI, Claude. Because modern tech philosophy dictates that APIs and webhooks are the holy grail. The goal is to never touch the same piece of data twice, right?
Right, you want systems talking to systems seamlessly in the background.
Yet, Murty literally copies and pastes the conversation notes from Littlebird's system updates into the chat window with Claude, manually.
Manually. He even types out to the AI, this part of Claude is a friction point for me, and he adds a little smiley face.
And Claude's response to that manual copy-pasting is this profound defense of friction.
Yeah, the AI actually points out that because Murty is forced to manually touch the data and review it at that boundary, he's catching logical bugs that an automatic API sync would have just blindly pushed through.
It's like playing a game of telephone. You know, if you let a message automatically bounce through 10 different people, it degrades. Identity drift sets in.
And the only way to stop that drift is for a human to step in, listen to the message, and reset the boundary.
And we can see the exact bug that this friction prevented, right?
Yes, in version 10 of the workflow. The AI introduced this sequencing error. It scheduled the generation of the infographic cover art in phase 2.
Okay, but what's wrong with that?
Well, the prompt required to generate that cover art relied on the finalized SEO episode title.
Oh, and the SEO title wasn't being generated until phase 3.
Exactly. The system was attempting to design a book cover before the book had a title. And if the platforms were just silently communicating via background APIs, that logic error might have triggered dozens of corrupted or blank image generations, burned through server credits, and broken the pipeline before a human ever noticed.
But because Murty was manually moving the data, he caught the paradox.
Exactly, and they patched it in version 11, strictly moving the infographic generation after the metadata generation.
They employ another deliberate friction point at the absolute finish line too. Step 21, final archival.
Oh yeah, the web clipper.
Right. The moment the Blogger post goes live, a human has to use the Notion web clipper extension to manually clip and save the published post into their Notion database.
Even though they could easily set up an automated RSS to Notion feed.
Easily. But the manual click of the web clipper forces a final human pair of eyes onto the live published product.
You know, friction is so frequently marketed as a bug by software companies trying to sell you automation tools.
Right. Eliminate all friction.
But in a high-stakes KPO workflow like this, friction is a feature. It's a vital quality assurance boundary. Because total seamless automation without human friction points just leads to identity drift.
The AI begins to forget its constraints. The English and Telugu brands begin to cross-pollinate.
Exactly. The manual copy-pasting, the deliberate review of step sequences, the active listening during the YouTube wait. This engineered friction ensures the legacy of the project remains intact.
Okay, so let's distill all of these mechanics down. We've explored the 1,200-character identity vault, the abolition of the two-session model for the 21-step sequence, the genius of repurposing the YouTube bottleneck, and the protective power of deliberate friction.
It's a lot of engineering.
It is. When we step back from the technical schematics, what is the core philosophy driving all of this?
Honestly, the core philosophy of Project Antaryami's workflow is a mandate to relentlessly audit your own processes. You have to separate the real constraints from the assumed constraints.
Right. The 5 a.m. listener deadline is a law of physics. The belief that you have to sit at your desk for 4 hours straight to hit that deadline is a fiction you tell yourself.
Exactly. And once you isolate the real constraints, you can redesign your operational day to let your software tools absorb the waiting while protecting your human energy for the friction points that actually require judgment.
I really want you listening to think about your own week. Where are you staring at a progress bar, enduring a YouTube sync in your own life, when you could reorder your tasks to turn that dead time into a passive quality check?
Or where are you forcing a workflow to be entirely seamless when what you actually need is a manual friction point to stop a recurring error?
It's such a different way of looking at it.
It really is, and I think the most provocative takeaway from Murty's design challenges are our fundamental relationship with technology right now. Well, the entire tech industry is obsessed with making AI more human. We want chatbots to be our casual brainstorming partners, to be infinitely creative, to surprise us. But this workflow achieves massive scale by doing the exact opposite.
Right, by locking the AI in a windowless room and telling it exactly what words it is never allowed to say.
By forcing the AI to be a rigid, rule-bound, uncreated machine through strict prompts and immutable sequences, the workflow actually liberates the human operators.
The humans get to be human.
Yes. The humans get to work at their own pace, take a walk in the middle of a project, and inject genuine care into the final review. It makes you wonder, are we burning ourselves out by expecting AI to be our creative collaborator when what we really need it to be is the assembly line?
It is a complete inversion of how we are taught to use these tools. I love that. Maybe the best way to preserve your humanity in an automated world is to let the machine be a machine so you don't have to act like one. Thank you for joining us on this digital stroll today. Keep auditing your constraints, stay insanely curious, and we will catch you next time.